It's pretty wild when you think about it, how one single piece of technology can branch off and become two totally different, almost opposite things. Well, that's pretty much exactly what happened with blockchain. See, not all blockchains are created equal. And this is a huge deal, because the choice between going public or private, it's not just some small technical detail. It's a massive decision that pretty much defines a project's entire mission and its future. So let's dive into the first of these two worlds, public blockchains. This is the one that really gets back to the original kind of radical idea of what this technology was all about. Okay, so think of a public blockchain as like a global digital town square. The doors are just wide open. You don't need an invite. You don't need a special password. Anyone from anywhere can just walk right in, see what's going on, and even, add their own 2 cents. And these three things here, they all work together to create something pretty powerful. Permissionless just means there are no bouncers, no gatekeepers. High decentralization means there's no single boss in charge. The power is spread out all over the world. And full transparency? Well, that means every single thing that happens gets written down in a public notebook for everyone to see. Put it all together, and what you get is a system that's incredibly tough to censor or mess with. And yeah, you've definitely heard of the big ones here. We're talking Bitcoin, the OG of crypto, and Ethereum, the platform that really brought smart contracts into the mainstream. These are the poster children for sure of the whole public blockchain idea. But, and this is a huge but, there's a major trade-off. See, all those things that make them super secure, like getting thousands of computers all over the planet to agree on every little detail, well, that also makes them kind of slow. And that total transparency? It's awesome for keeping things honest, but it's a total deal breaker for any business that needs to keep its financial info, private. So, those two big problems, being slow and having zero privacy, that's what led to a whole different approach. This time, we're not building a public square. Nope. Think of it more like an exclusive velvet rope members-only club. Yeah, this is the complete opposite of that open door policy we just talked about. With a private blockchain, there is absolutely a bouncer at the door. You gotta be on the list to get in. These are networks built for a very specific crew, like a bunch of banks working together or companies all in the same supply chain. So it all comes down to control. Access is permissioned, which is just a fancy way of saying it's invite only. The control is centralized, one company or a small group is calling the shots. And this structure gives businesses the one thing they absolutely need, privacy. All the transactions are kept under wraps, visible only to the people inside that exclusive club. For a business, the perks are obvious. You've got fewer people who already trust each other, so you can zip transactions through super fast and way cheaper. But the downside? It's a big one. You completely lose that trustless idea that made blockchain so revolutionary in the first place. You're back to trusting a central authority to do the right thing and keep the network safe. Okay, so we've looked at both worlds separately. Now it's time for the showdown. Let's put them side by side and really dig into what makes them so different and why it all matters. This is the real question, right? For actual business use cases, how do these things really stack up? Because it's not about which one is better overall, it's about which one is the right tool for the job you're trying to do. Okay, this table breaks it all down perfectly. Just look at the difference in decentralization. We're talking high versus low. That right there is the fundamental split. Then you've got data privacy, transparent versus confidential. This is often the single biggest reason a business will choose one over the other. And check out immutability. That's how hard it is to change the data. It's way, way higher on a public chain. And all of this leads to completely different use cases. Public chains are for open stuff like crypto and DeFi, while private chains are all about making existing industries, like banking or supply chains, more efficient. And this chart, it shows you that performance gap in a really simple way. I mean, look at that. When you're talking about pure speed and the ability to handle a ton of transactions, the private model just blows the public one out of the water. And that speed is a huge, huge reason why so many big companies are jumping on the private blockchain bandwagon. So at the end of the day, what's really important to get is that this isn't just a techie debate about speeds and specs. No, this is a choice between two totally different philosophies about how the world should work, about power, about control, and about who you trust. This quote just hits the nail on the head. Blockchain was literally invented with this idea of taking power away from big centralized institutions, right? Like the big banks. But now, in a crazy twist, those same institutions are grabbing this technology not to give up their power, but to actually make their own centralized systems even stronger and more efficient. And maybe this is the simplest way to wrap your head around it. Public blockchains, they're aiming for a revolution. They want to build brand new open systems from scratch. Private blockchains, they're more about evolution. They're about taking the systems we already have and just making them better, faster, and easier to track. And that leaves us with this really fascinating question to chew on. Is the future of this technology going to be revolutionary, or is it going to be evolutionary? Is it going to be about tearing down the old systems or just giving them a new coat of paint? The answer is probably both. They're both happening right now. But which one will ultimately have the bigger impact? Now that's something to think about.